The newest Marlins addition is a pitcher who is a project, and he has a name that is impossible to pronounce.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Marlins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. I'm your host, Jeremiah Geiger. I'm a diehard Marlins fan, and I've podcasted about the team for the last 4 seasons. You can find me on Twitter at Jeremiah Geiger too, and make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. If your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. And on today's show, we're going to take a look at the newest Marlins addition. Claimed off of waivers from the Washington Nationals, Zach Brzykcy joins the Marlins organization. Who is he? What does he have to offer? We're going to dive into the details why the Marlins picked him up. It's interesting because he is a project. You look at the numbers and they're not good. But there's one thing that I have faith in regarding this organization, and that's the Marlins' ability to develop pitchers and get the best out of pitchers. Think about to last season before opening day. Jansen Junk comes over on a minor league contract, hadn't had any success in the major leagues, bounced from organization to organization, lands with the Marlins, starts a lot of games, and proves that he's worthy of a rotation spot and very well could be the number 5 starter heading into next season. So this organization is really good at developing arms, and when I see an acquisition like this, I think that there's something to salvage. Now, Zach Brzykcy, first off, his last name, if you're watching on the YouTube channel, you see it in the show rundown, it's impossible to pronounce. And I just think that's really funny because when I saw the announcement on Twitter, I had to Google it before I recorded this show. I had to make sure I was pronouncing it right. So it is pronounced Brzykcy. Would never have guessed that in a million years. Spelled Brzykcy. Very unique name. His success in the major leagues pretty much non-existent. So he's pitched parts of 2 seasons, 32 games, 28 2/3, an ERA over 10. All right. That's not good. What is good, though, is he does have some intriguing pitches. He's a fastball, curveball, changeup guy. The fastball got hit really hard. Batters hit .321 against the pitch a season ago, but it does have a good induced vertical break, 19 inches of induced vertical break. The changeup garnered a 46% whiff rate. So it does have some swing and miss to it. He has 28 strikeouts, averaging about a strikeout an inning in his major league career. So it's worth a flyer. See what happens. I think with Brzykcy put on waivers by the Nationals, Marlins claim him. This is more of a project that, hey, if it goes right, then kudos to you. You have success. Maybe he can pitch some meaningful innings for you. If not, maybe he's a depth piece in the minor leagues. There's really no harm, no foul when it comes to making these marginal moves. I've talked about on the show plenty of times. Peter Bendix is a master at winning on the margins. He's not going to make these flashy signings, usually. I'm hoping that changes this upcoming season. But a pitcher like Jansen Junk, a waiver claim like Otto Lopez, now we look back on it with hindsight and say, well, that worked out. So Brzykcy, who knows? Maybe the Marlins can bring out the best in him for this upcoming season. There were some more moves. Brzykcy was the only acquisition, but Anthony Bender reinstated, Braxton Garrett reinstated, Max Meyer and Andrew Nardi all reinstated from the 60-day injured list. Of course, that's a formality. They're already on the 40-man. They have to be activated. Andrew Nardi is the only one I don't expect to be on this team in 2026. I think Andrew Nardi is going to be non-tendered. At least that's the words that I'm hearing. That seems to be the common sentiment around the organization. You had Jack Winkler and Christian Roa outrighted to AAA. Winkler, I'm not surprised, on the 40-man. He was called up last year out of necessity. It seemed they just didn't have the depth in the middle infield behind an Otto Lopez, behind Xavier Edwards. That's why we saw Max Acosta later in the season. Now, I think Max Acosta factors more into the Marlins' long-term plans if it works out than Jack Winkler does. So Winkler elects minor league free agency. Hopefully he signs somewhere and gives an organization his best shot to stick around, but it won't be with the Marlins. Christian Roa is the move that I disagree with. I liked Christian Roa and what he did in the minor leagues a season ago. Now, he only pitched in 2 games with the Marlins. I thought that was just not the way to go about it when it comes to a season in which your primary goal is player development, and Josh Simpson and Michael Peterson are getting all these innings. I think there's something in Christian Roa that he can stick around. He had a huge improvement from 2024 to 2025 in AAA. So in 2024, his ERA was 5.55. 2025, a 2.83 ERA in 60 and a third innings. Averaged about a strikeout an inning. He had 64 Ks. Made 2 appearances for the Fish. He struck out 3 in 3 innings. But that's not enough to really showcase what he has at the major league level. And now he's off the 40-man. So if he wants to stick around and reclaim his spot in this Marlins bullpen, well, now it's going to be an uphill battle because he's off the 40-man. You got to wait for spring training and really just make your case for this roster. And that's the beauty of spring training, is you're always going to have guys competing for roster spots. Nothing is guaranteed. But I would rather have seen Roa stick on the 40-man and be given a chance in 2026 based on the improvement we saw a season ago. He has an electric arm, high 90s fastball, and I think the upside is higher with him than it is with a pitcher like Michael Peterson, like Josh Simpson, even though Simpson's a lefty. And that was one of the main reasons he stuck around pretty much all of last season from the time he got called up. So for Roa, not out of the organization yet, but he's off the 40-man. It's going to be interesting to see how the Marlins continue to operate with their 40-man. If we're going to see any surprising new cuts, who the Marlins will protect via the 40-man or for the 40-man draft, or via the Rule 5 draft is what I'm trying to say. So for Roa, off the 40-man, what other moves will the Marlins make in the coming weeks? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Remember, just a couple weeks away from the deadline to add minor league prospects to that 40-man roster to protect them from potentially getting selected in the Rule 5 draft. When we come back, I'm going to talk about another pitcher that's a free agent, surprisingly a free agent. That's Pete Fairbanks. I think he would be a perfect fit on the Marlins. But first, this episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this sports season. Whether you're following the NFL, the NBA, or both, there's no better time to jump in on the action. And if you haven't tried it yet, PrizePicks is the simplest way to play. You just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats, and if you get them right, you win. It takes less than a minute to make your lineup, and you can play anywhere PrizePicks operates, including states like California, Texas, and Georgia. You can use PrizePicks during both football Sundays and NBA tip-offs. It keeps every game exciting. They got a really cool feature I like too. So the injury reboot feature. If one of your players leaves early with an injury, that feature is going to save your lineup from a loss. It offers you some protection. So download the PrizePicks app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB and get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. Thank you for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Pete Fairbanks, the Rays closer, did not have his option picked up. His $11 million a year option, the Rays decide to part ways. He is now a free agent, and I think he would be a perfect fit for this bullpen. I also think that Tyler Phillips and Pete Fairbanks, this is a bit of a side note, would just be hilarious together in the bullpen. Phillips is a psycho. He runs out of the pen towards the mound. He's hitting himself in the face. And if you've ever watched Pete Fairbanks talk after a bad game, he's very stoic. Just do yourself a favor. Go to YouTube, type in Pete Fairbanks post-game interview. You'll see what I'm talking about. The characters of these two pitchers, it would just be an awesome pairing in the pen. But from a baseball perspective, Fairbanks is a pitcher that's had success in the major leagues. And I understand why the Rays decided to part ways, to not pick up that option year. They're coming off of a season in which they didn't make the playoffs. $11 million does feel like a bit of a stretch for a reliever of his caliber. I don't think he's at the same level of as an Edwin Diaz or an Andres Munoz, but he's somebody that still gets outs, still has a bazooka attached to his shoulder, and is effective. Last season in 2025, set a career high in games with 61, had a 2.83 ERA, 59 strikeouts. Looking at these numbers, it's a bit surprising because I watched a good deal of baseball around the league. I think that's everybody if you're listening to the show. He did blow some saves. It felt like he blew a lot more saves than the stats indicate. Again, an ERA over 3, which was down from 2024. He had a decent season by the numbers. Now, for the Marlins, where would he fit in? To me, it's just pairing another late inning option alongside Ronnie Enriquez. Because if you go back to last year, especially in the second half of the season, if Enriquez wasn't pitching, then it felt like the ball game was just up in the air and nobody knew how it would end. Nobody knew who was going to take the 8th or the 9th if Enriquez was unavailable. And more often than not, it seemed like the Marlins were trying to protect Enriquez and put an innings limit on him. I mean, Enriquez pitched a ton. I understand you want to protect your best reliever. This was essentially his rookie season, the most he's ever pitched by far. But moving forward, it's clear that in 2026, if the Marlins have to compete, they're going to have to add to this pen. You can't rely upon Enriquez going 70 games again and then filling in the blanks with Lake Bacher, Calvin Fauché. With all due respect to those pitchers, and I do like Lake Bacher more than Calvin Fauché in the late innings, I just don't trust Fauché. I think you need one more guy. Phillips proved to be that guy. Phillips isn't a strikeout pitcher, though. He's a pitch-to-contact pitcher who has stuff to get outs, but not closer stuff. He's not as electric as Enriquez. Fairbanks has closer's stuff. He throws 99 from a very unique arm slot. I really can't tell you any other pitcher that I can think of that throws like Fairbanks. It's something that it just kind of baffles me because he short arms everything. When he's pitching, he doesn't bring the arm all the way back, doesn't go to his hip. It's just a quick release, almost like he's throwing a football and it's right over the top. It's hard for hitters to catch up. And he's effective. You look at the advanced metrics. He misses the barrel. He gets ground balls at a 46% clip. He's a good pitcher. Fastball, slider, changeup, and cutter. He'll mix in those two pitches, but it's mainly the fastball and the slider. And the fastball, like I said, really good velocity, and the slider, opponents hit 173 against. He's your typical late innings reliever. Go in, get 3 outs, get you to the bottom of the 9th, or close the game, and you're the closer. Enriquez and Fairbanks would be an awesome 1-2 punch for this team. It just depends on where the money is. So I've talked about in the past how the Marlins have internal options in their bullpen, and they do. Josh White is going to get his chance. I wanted Christian Roa to get his chance. We'll see what happens with how the roster is constructed. But besides that, who else are you going to protect? And you have to remember, rookies. Josh White will be a rookie. Josh Simpson, rookie last season. That did not go well. I mean, an ERA over 7. I thought Simpson, he was averaging at one point 13 plus Ks per 9. Just didn't work out. So getting that veteran presence into your bullpen, not relying upon the same success from a season ago, from a Lake Bacher, from even a Ronnie Enriquez, as good as he was, will he be as dominant as this past season? That's no guarantee. You also have to consider health. It's imperative that they add a veteran arm. Just depends on the money. I don't see the Marlins going out and giving Pete Fairbanks a 3-year deal. I don't even think a 2-year deal, depending on the money, maybe. If they are going to give a multi-year deal, it's going to be to a first baseman. Bullpen arms that the Marlins will go after, this is just a prediction, this is a hunch. They're looking at a 1-year prove-it deal, like we've seen in the past, or a 2-year semi-prove-it deal, where they get a good chunk of change, a good AAV, and then they're going to test the free agent market eventually. I don't see this Marlins organization spending a ton of money in the bullpen. Whether that's right or wrong, I'd love to see the Marlins spend money, but it's also believe it when you see it kind of a deal. So Fairbanks was due to make $11 million. Would the Marlins sign him to a 1-year $11 million? I'd be fine with that. But if you're Fairbanks and you're his agent, are you looking for a couple extra years? Are you looking for that security? Or are you just trying to, test the open market, see what happens, gauge where the team's interests are, and go get yourself a multi-year deal? That's probably what he would want to do. 31 years old, he still has gas left in the tank, but it's a good target for the Marlins to be in talks with. You don't have to go out and go get Edwin Diaz. Like, no one's asking you to do that. But there does come a point when you need to address the needs in the room, and bullpen is one of them. Pete Fairbanks is a good option. Coming up next, the Arizona Fall League All-Star rosters have been announced, and 2 Marlins prospects are on the team, Karson Milbrandt and Starlyn Caba. I'm going to talk about those players and their performances during this Arizona Fall League right after this. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is here, and there's no better place to get in on the action than with FanDuel. It's the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game, maybe you were flying all day like I was, and you get off the plane, there's a basketball game going on, and you want to put some bets on it, you can, because they have live bets from everything on who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. And you can even combine those live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. And it's not just basketball, guys, football, baseball. If you were one of those people that had the Dodgers winning it all, think about in the future, 2026. Maybe you want to put a futures bet on who the 2026 World Series champion will be. You never know. I'm hoping it's the Marlins. But with FanDuel, if you're a new customer, they'll give you $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head over to FanDuel.com, sign up, and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Shout out to all the everyday listeners who make Locked On Marlins a part of your daily routine. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. If you're new to the show, share the podcast with your friends. We're free and available wherever you get your pods. I recorded a whole episode in the airport, guys, and I went to edit it and then post it, and I realized the connection had went out about halfway through. So no big deal. I'm in the hotel room. We got to knock this out. We have Karson, Milbrandt, and Starlyn Caba to talk about. Really exciting prospects. I use the word exciting because I just see the potential with these guys. I'm going to start with Karson Milbrandt. So Milbrandt, to me, has some of the best stuff in the Marlins organization. The issue with Milbrandt has been and continues to be, even into this Arizona Fall League, the control. And where have we seen that before? Edward Cabrera. For years, Cabrera is showcasing and flashing all this electric stuff, that this top of the rotation profile, and he just kept walking everyone. And then there finally came a time when it clicked, and look what happened. He had a 2025 where he pitched like an ace and was the most consistent pitcher on the Marlins roster all season long. That's what Milbrandt has to figure out. The swing and miss, it's there. It's nasty. 23 strikeouts in 13 1/3 innings for the Mesa Solar Sox in the AFL. It's averaging 15.5 Ks per 9. The issue, he's walking 5.4 batters per 9 as well. He's walked 8 in 13 1/3. I know that's a small sample size, but that's just like the last few years. In 2025, this past season, he walked 5 batters per 9 for Beloit. In 2024 with Beloit, 5.3. So he's hovering around that 5 walks per 9, which isn't going to cut it. It's just not going to cut it if he wants to take that next step and work his way through Pensacola, because he's going to start with the Blue Wahoos. And if he does well for Pensacola, I could see a promotion to AAA at some point next season. He's just got to work on his command. That's really the only thing holding him back. His arm's electric. He could pitch in the major leagues by stuff alone right now. That's how good he is. Just got to put it all together and just limit the base runners. Again, Edward Cabrera, same problems. It clicked for him at his age 27 season. So Milbrandt, still young. He's 21 years old. He's got plenty of time to figure it out, but you'd like him to figure it out sooner rather than later, especially while he's in the minor leagues and struggling in the command department at the lower levels of the minor leagues. Now he's in Pensacola. He's got to hit the ground running. Hot start next season is imperative for Milbrandt and his development in 2026. I'm rooting for him. I think he can do it. I'm really excited for his future. Starlyn Caba. Let's talk about Starlyn Caba, because I'll be honest, I was so critical of the Jesus Luzardo deal. I really was. I thought it was a terrible trade at the time, and I still don't like the way the Marlins handled the Jesus Luzardo era or saga by trading him after he had finished the season on the injured list, and they sold extremely low on him. Now they got back Caba, who has the best glove in minor league baseball. He's a pure shortstop. He's going to play shortstop and win Gold Gloves at the next level. Can he hit enough? That's the question. Can he hit? And for the last couple of years in the minor leagues, he hasn't stayed healthy and he hasn't hit. 2025 with Jupiter. This is low A. He hit .222 with 1 homer. He has no power and an OPS of .613. And you're like, we just acquired Nick Allen, the shortstop for the Braves. Light hitting shortstop, but he's never going to make an impact with the bat. And then the Arizona Fall League rolled around, and my eyes have turned. I've been looking around, and I look at what he's been doing. And all of a sudden, with 79 plate appearances, he's hitting .313, an OBP of .418, an OPS of .851 with 2 doubles and 2 homers, walking 12 times with 17 strikeouts. And you say to yourself, he's 19 years old. This Arizona Fall League that he's playing in There's guys way older than him. He doesn't turn 20 until December. Maybe this is the confidence that he needs in order to hit the ground running in 2026 and reestablish himself as a top prospect in the Marlins system. Because if he can hit the way he's been hitting in the AFL, then he is a top prospect again in the Marlins system. And he's going to get back into top 100 prospect rankings, and the hype is going to be rebuilt because the glove is so good. His plate discipline is so good. And now he's showing some signs of power. I'm not saying he's going to be a 15, 20 home run guy, but if he can be a doubles hitter, go gap to gap with good exit velocities, then I really like Starlyn Caba for the future. Still really young, plenty of time to continue developing. Again, last season he was in Jupiter, low A. The season before, low A and rookie ball. There's no rush with Caba. But when I look down the road, maybe 2 or 3 years, I can't help but think about Starlyn Caba anchoring the middle of this Marlins infield if he continues to progress offensively. Again, the glove's there. I don't have to worry about his defense, which is a nice thing to have. But if his bat can play up and that hit tool is plus, which it has been rated really good, we just need to see the results and the numbers behind it, then the Marlins do have a potential all-star and above average major league player on their hands. So for Milbrandt, for Caba, good showings in the Arizona Fall League. 2026, it's going to come here sooner than you know it. We're a little over 100 days away from, I think, spring training. I saw a Fish on First tweet talking about 108 days for spring training. Still a couple months. We're in football season, basketball season, but the grind doesn't stop. The front office is not going to stop trying to improve this roster and build a competitive team. That's the goal, competitive team. I'm excited. I know you guys are. It's going to be a fun off season as we transition from the World Series to now free agents are available to sign. We're going to have the Rule 5 draft, see who the Marlins protect from the Rule 5 draft. Plenty to cover. That's going to do it for today's edition of Locked On Marlins. For your second listen of the day, go check out Locked On MLB over on the YouTube channel. And until next time, guys, stay safe, stay locked on, and let's go fish.